All right, we are back for another edition of the Astro Weather. I am Robert Phoenix, your Astro Weatherman. Thank you for being patient today. It's been an interesting process, man. This getting better thing that my body signed me up for. And catching up on sleep has been a remarkable concept. That's all I can say. It's been a remarkable concept. It's usually at night, not during the day, not napping out, but actually figuring out how to sleep and sleep reasonably. It's like my body, it's like, it's sort of like when your body craves something, like, your body craves vitamin C when you're just like, man, I just want some oranges. I want that orange, whatever, the tang, the juice. But what you really want is you want that vitamin C, those bioflavonoids. And so off you go, right? The conquest of the orange. And it's been feeling like that kind of on the sleep world. And it's like, can I just get a couple more hours in? Just a couple more hours. And it feels like just catching up for a lot of lost time. Is that even possible? I mean, once you lose those hours of sleep, are they just gone? Or can you actually sort of rebank them? Anyway, I guess we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out, won't we, as time goes on here. We had a bit of a malfunction. A bit of a malfunction with last night's programming for the star of the day. We got to say goodbye to Leo. It's been real. Man, that retrograde. Ooh. That retrograde knocked me on my ass, let me tell you that. Mercury retrograde Leo, hello. I wasn't going anywhere. You think you're going places? Yeah, buddy. There's places you're going. But they're not the places you think you're going. All right, let's do this. Do that right there. Okay. So how is everyone? I've missed a bit of the chitter chatter in the old Chatterooski, but I'm sure everybody is managing just fine. You're a self-sufficient group of semi-enlightened malcontents. How's that? I can't give you fully enlightened. None of us can. We have to work at it. Or I suppose you could say you are. That's fine. I'm not going to put any labels on you. All right. Let's see what we got here. As you know, as in the TV world, they call this buying time. This is exactly what I'm doing here. Is I'm buying time because my past self, the one who put today's show together, for whatever reason, decided to not fully complete that process. So I am actually fulfilling that process as we speak. But I have learned how to multitask. It's one of the things that has come along with this program. Although when you do this enough, you can kind of figure out how to do it without it feeling too forced, if you know what I mean. And it can, at times, if it's done well, sort of blend seamlessly into the background of the show. And today is hopefully one of those days. I look at this and I'm like, I must have done something last night. I must have done something last night. All right, let me see if I can. Here we go. This is good. This is good. We're right here. Okay. So we're just queuing up our star of the day. I've almost got it. And they're actually two really fascinating characters. And in a lot of ways, they do really speak to like my time, my generation. These are the guys that were kind of rocking the sports world generationally. Okay, we did it. Thank you. Thanks for your patience. Now we get on with the show. It wasn't too bad, was it? Could have been worse. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Let's get into the weather. We have one more day. One more day of Leo. Today's the 28th degree. Shout out to my girl Linda out there in California in recovery. Hope you're doing well, putting one foot in front of the other, and every day becomes a bit easier than the one before. So there you go. Let's get into this. Say, man, it is not easy when you get older and you have to go through these physical ailments and you have to deal with the system. I'm just getting initiated now. I'm just going through my initiation. How fun is that? Some of you have been there already. Maybe you have some tips. Some tips for yours truly. Let me do just a quick check on the audio, and then yeah, we're looking good. We got liftoff. There we go. 28 degrees. Today's that crazy Leo degree, the crazy 28th degree. Well, you crazy motherfuckers out there like today's star of the day, he's uncontrollable. You'll see what I mean when I talk about him. He's the epitome of the 28th degree. So here we go. 20th degree of Leo. Let the sun shine in. We're about ready to move into Virgo, very different time of year, very different time of season, right? We begin our internalization. We have been at the peak of externalization with Leo, right? The peak of externalization with Leo actually happens the day after the summer solstice. That is the peak of externalization in the north. So now we are trending more towards internalization. So over the course of the next 3 months, the light will grow darker, the days will grow shorter. It will bring us all the way till the winter solstice ultimately. And uh, that's the shortest day of the year. Right. So we're on that track now. And we've got two major eclipses that are upcoming. I'll be doing a report on locals for both eclipses. So that is going to be for members only. Okay. I got to have some members only stuff over there for you locals folks that do support the show. I mean, you all support it in your own rah rah, hey, Robert, have a good show sort of thing. But there are actual people that do support locals. And so I need to do something for those people. And if you would like to be a part of the eclipse talks, which are coming, then you can convert your regular locals membership into a supporting locals membership. So that's something that can be helpful for me, obviously, and for you because you'll get some exclusive content, which you will. And I just posted on locals yesterday, giving you sort of my route and timing for my tour. I'm going to call this this is sort of like the Rust Belt tour. This is the Billy Joel Allentown tour. Billy Joel is one of those characters where he is simultaneously respected for his abilities. Billy Joel is a piano playing motherfucker. He can play piano. Come on, piano man. Sing us a song. He's great. He's great with that, right? So Billy Joel, he's got famous songs, Uptown Girl and Allentown, and my favorite Billy Joel record of all time, bar none, Glass Houses. That's a good record. Billy Joel said, let me try this new wave thing out a bit. He wasn't half bad. It was like, oh, okay, he's going to try this new genre on. How does it work for him? Oh, he kind of gets it. He kind of gets it. But on the other hand, he's also somebody that is a little cringy. I have no idea why I'm talking about Billy Joel. None whatsoever. Except that he did a song called Allentown, and I'll be sort of headed through there. I mean, isn't that what, you've got Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, and Bob Seger, and John Mellencamp. Those are like, and Tom Petty. Those are like your five sort of quintessential American populist pop stars of the people. Those three. Yes, indeed. So what's going to be like today with the sun at 28 Leo? Does it feel like is this the part of the party where the hosts are yawning and they're starting to clean up and people are still hanging out and chatting away and having drinks? Is that where we are? No, not quite. We're not quite there yet. That'll be tomorrow. No, tonight is like the last gasp. This is sort of the last call. Last call for Leo is today. Yeah, here we go. Every now and then we blink out. And that's what happened here. Um, yeah, I mean, this is one of those days where people you don't think are going to cooperate with you, they will. They'll be like, holy shit, I've been at odds with this person for the last couple months, and all of a sudden they're on my side. And conversely, people that you think that are your allies will prove to be perhaps your most staunchest critics. That's just the way it is with this 28-degree Leo topsy-turvy energy. This is also one of those days where seismically it feels really weird, right? Because we're dealing with the sun, obviously, with Leo. So if we're playing the physical sun slash metaphysical sun degree drinking game, today is kind of a Taiwan on day. Because again, there's this instability that is in the air, literally. And then, of course, Uranus in Gemini has been, ever since we started to go through those last degrees of Uranus and Taurus, the Earth stuff has been just picking up right and left. And, you know, whether it's natural or some of it feeling very man-made, hello, Sitka submarine base. Nonetheless, right? And even with like Uranus and Gemini, it feels more synthetic. It feels more driven by science in some ways than the Earth itself, which you would find with Uranus and Taurus. Don't worry, Uranus will make its retrograde back to Taurus. So we'll get to figure out if this is true or not. Right. That's going to me, that's going to be an interesting time when we get that Uranus retrograde slamming back into Taurus. Like, here you go. Remember these are changes that you missed out on last time? Yeah, those ones where everything's moving forward and then something decides to like stop and wrench and move it backwards. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So for now, today, I think today is one of those days where it's hard to keep your focus, but do your best. Today's a pinball day. Just be a pinball. You're a pinball bouncing off the bumpers of life. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Have some fun. Self-deprecating humor goes a long ways, and you will find unusual allies as well. It's like, hey, this guy's on my side. I can't believe this. We're speaking the same language. How about that? How about that? That means that the sun is now moving in conjunct with Neptune and Saturn. Now, today and tomorrow, 29, 28, 29, there's a bit of indignancy in the air, right? With those last degrees of Leo. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? You're trying to pin this on me, right? That's the inconjunct. Saturn, Neptune's like, oh no, 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 no. This isn't gonna work. This is not gonna work. Go find somebody else. Well, in a couple of days, that sun goes into Virgo, and you're still in this inconjunct with Neptune and Saturn. And unfortunately, Virgo is almost more than willing to take the blame for just about everything. So not today, not tomorrow, but starting on the weekend, going through Sunday, Monday, and to some extent even Tuesday, just be sure that you're not taking on things that aren't yours. Just because nobody else will do it. What kind of logic is that? Well, if somebody doesn't take the fall for this, then who's going to take the no? It's not you. It's not your problem. It's not your problem. To me, Saturn Neptune together retrograde, like from a management position, is incredibly dysfunctional. And they're looking around. They're looking around. Who can we blame? Whose head can we chop? And it's all retrograde, right? It's like you better find out what happened here. You better find out how this went wrong. You know, it's that kind of story. Now, if you want to play this out in your personal life with the Sun in Virgo coming up here, it's like, okay, well, how did I get myself into this position? How did I become like a whipping boy, or how did I become somebody who is a scapegoat of sorts? That's the territory we're talking about here. You know, moving in like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, big scapegoat territory, and also rebellious too. It's like enough is enough is enough. So there's a lot going on under the surface. You know, they say that what August comes in like a lion and leaves like a lamb. There's a little bit of lion in Virgo in the first few degrees, particularly that square with Uranus. It's like, whoa, I thought you were a Virgo. Virgos don't act that way. Well, you're going to see people aside from the sign. We'll put the sign aside. That will act out of a different set of self-interests. And that's coming. And a lot of it feels slightly transactional and expedient. Like there's something in the air. People feel it. There's something in the air. There's a nervousness. There's this sense that something is coming. Right? And you can feel it with the yin conjunct. You can feel it coming in with the square with Uranus. And it also really coincides in a lot of ways with, you know, in 2000 and was it 2011, Regulus went into Virgo, which I have said has been a huge impact in terms of astrology. And I've talked about this before, all these different iterations of like Regulus and Virgo. And one of the more popular ones, unfortunately, has been when people have been elevated far beyond their capacity to do a job or hold a position. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? It's sort of like, we don't care if they're qualified enough. They just meet a certain criterion, which is very Virgoan. You know, it's very, oh, well, this person just they just need a hand up, right? You know, we need to serve the community. And as a result of Regulus moving into Virgo, we elevated people that were not prepared to be elevated. And part of it is just astrological. Okay, so the old kings, the old queens used to be the elite. They used to be the hierarchy, theoretically, right? Kings, queens, dukes, duchesses, barons, baronesses, all of them. And that was for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Thousands of years. Jesus was born with Regulus and Leo. Jupiter was conjunct Regulus and Leo. That's what made it such an amazing light in the heaven, right? This royal star conjunct Jupiter in Leo on the night that Jesus was born. And so there it was, the King of Kings for centuries. And then in 2011, it went into Virgo. And so we got the immediately, like there are things that start to happen you know, right around this time. Um, Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, whatever you think of them, right? If they were sheep dipped, if they were limited hangout, whatever. It played the role in some ways of this Regulus and Virgo, because normally what would happen is you would have normal mainstream media. They were stars. I mean, that's how the media was portrayed. And there were very leonine stars in that system, whether it was Dan Rather or Ted Koppel or Barbara Walters or fill in the blanks. You know who I'm talking about. That all changes when Regulus moves into Virgo, and so we have something called WikiLeaks. Again, whatever you think of it, whatever you think of Assange, here's this whole new channel. Information is getting pushed through this channel where there's been this kind of protocol for anonymous whistleblowers to drop very serious allegations, some of them involving war crimes in Iran. This was very unlike what had gone before. This is like, okay, WikiLeaks in a lot of ways is sort of the birth of Twitter. Even though it's not Twitter, it's sort of the birth of Twitter. It's the birth of, in some ways, Facebook had been around, but it's this thing that goes around established media checkpoints. And again, that's very Virgo and Regulus. It's like everybody has access to the information. Like nobody should be able to lord over it. It is the one common currency that we have, which theoretically can level the playing field, right? I mean, the whole idea is that these things, that these cables through WikiLeaks or whatever began to surface, post 2/11, is really, about sort of, turning the tables of the merchants upside down inside the temple. I mean, that's kind of what WikiLeaks was. Like, here you go. We're just throwing this upside down so you can sort through this info and to some degree democratize the process. That all happens with this ingress into Regulus with Virgo. There's more to it than that. I mean, obviously, we've gone through a number of iterations with it. But what's fascinating, the reason why I'm talking about it, is because in 2 days, the sun will conjunct Regulus, right? So we're getting that. It's been happening since 2/11. Sun conjunct Regulus. It is if you wanted to give the sun a birthday in the zodiac, it literally, so tomorrow's the 29th degree of, so Saturday would be the birth of the sun. Even though we had it in Leo and it's the sun sign, but there's something about Regulus, which regulates all the fixed stars and the movements of the cosmos. So it's a very powerful day. We got the square with Uranus coming. We have the in conjunct with Neptune, Saturn. It just feels like there's so much potential for self-awareness and breakthrough and the breaking of these chains. I mean, ultimately, that's what Regulus and Virgo is about. It's about the breaking of these chains. But you have number one, you have to be aware of them. That's number one. And number two, you have to care enough about breaking the chains. It goes back to that old Superman TV series where they have this witch doctor guy who hypnotizes Jimmy Olsen and Lois and Perry White into being in paper handcuffs, thinking that they're metal handcuffs, right? There's this hypnosis going on. And this weekend, there's a break in the hypnosis. There's a break in the hypnosis starting around Saturday, right? And there are things now that are coming to the surface that are going to be hard to explain, and they're hard to unsee, right? Like this guy in Vegas who's working, he's like Netanyahu's like number one, like security chief. And he's running one of these. You wonder why Vegas has gotten so bad and nobody wants to show up. It's because they're running these sleazy cyber security conferences in Vegas, which is all anyone cares about now. There's nothing about innovation. The only innovation that they're going to invest in is getting more granular details about who you are, making themselves incredibly transparent to the point where you don't even see them, right? They're like invisible. It's like they're the invisible man in your room, literally walking around in your room that you can't see, but they're there because they can see everything. I mean, this is where the innovation has gone. So, well, what if we could do this? Think of all that power. Think of all the power we'd have over all these people if they didn't know that we were walking around their bedroom and they didn't see us. Like the Invisible Man sort of thing. I mean, that's what these things are about now. Yeah, and of course they'll have some sort of humanitarian thing that, you know, this has been backed by X amount of people who are dutifully watching the trafficking of children every year, and we have their endorsement, blah, blah, fucking blah. That's all it is. But that's what it's all come down to, right? But what happens is that these people are so emboldened and they think that they're just not going to get caught, that their software and their systems are so incorruptible and they don't stink, and they get busted. And they get busted for basically child porn, child trafficking rings. Netanyahu's number one dude. And he gets busted in Vegas. He's having a party. You think he was the only one? You think he was up at 3 a.m, coked out of his brain in Vegas, chatting with an 11-year-old? No. There was probably a lot more going on than just him, right? It was probably in his suite, in his room, right? Like this is where the activity was going down. They were able to trace it, and boom, there it was. He gets arrested. And what happens? Well, he manages to somehow escape. Have you ever been arrested? If you've ever been arrested, the possibility of escape is somewhere between extremely little hope and not happening. And there's reasons why. Number one, once they get you in the cuffs, okay, they tighten the shit out of the cuffs, and you literally you can't move. Like your arms just can't. If they're behind you, you can't move. And the restraints on the wrists are cutting off the circulation of your blood. It does a number on your body. It does a number on your head. Right? You're worried about, like, are my wrists going to stay on? And then if you're not in a van, they put you in the back of a squad car. Have you ever sat in the back of a squad car? If you're 5'3", you'll be just fine. If you're over 5'7", there's a thing called legroom, in which there is none, and you sort of have to either sit sideways or somehow manage to buckle your knees up against your chest while your arms are being flayed behind you. This is the environment of escape, right? This is the environment. So then let's say they want to transfer you and get you out of said vehicle. All right. So let's say it's a regular squad car. They open the door. You basically have to contort yourself like a pretzel, get out, and then it's the perp walk, right, to being processed. It's not that far. In most cases, the actual vehicle will drive underneath the facility, right? Like literally underneath the facility. It'll park within 15 to 20 feet of an elevator or anything that allows you to access the facility and have the least amount of ground to cover between the vehicle and the processing point. So what I'm trying to share with you is that escaping is not easy. It's not impossible, but it's also not easy. Now, somewhere between being picked up at the hotel and taken to be booked, maybe the cops decide to get some donuts. And maybe they decide to take our Israeli friend and say, have you ever had a really good American donut before? Do you guys got donuts in Israel? You have not had a donut like a fucking Krispy Kreme, let me tell you. Come on. George, let's buy him a Krispy Kreme. Who knows how long it's going to be before he gets to have another Krispy Kreme. Oh, what happened to him? He was here a little while ago. Yeah, we loosened the cuffs so he could have a sip of coffee with his Krispy Kreme, but he went to the bathroom and he must be gone now. Jeez. Well, at least he had a bite of his Krispy Kreme. See, that's happening. And people are noticing. Like that thing in Vegas is, even though it's not directly related to some gross inhumanity, which happens all the time, it shines a different kind of light on our supposed allies. And I think it's really, really interesting. And again, this is the chaos part. This is that Sun square Uranus. This is the inconjunct with Neptune, Saturn. Like, yeah, we're all about the Epstein list. Yeah, we want to see what's on the Epstein list. We want those files. We want that justice to come to light. So what happens? Drag their heels, drag their heels, drag their heels, drag their heels. There is no list. But then you have this joker in Las Vegas popping up and getting busted. Cybersecurity for, guess what? Child trafficking, child porn, grooming kids. It's like, this is the nature of the universe. It's like we're going to suppress over here. It's like if you ever watch those old cartoons like Popeye or something, and they have a hose, and the hose is being filled with water, and they're doing something to keep the water from eventually getting through the hose. You see, you go like a thrombosis, and eventually it explodes. This is what that's like. So when you see something like Jeffrey Epstein and the names, the files, the trials, etc., all just being just ignored, flushed, right, moved away from, this thing pops up. Isn't that interesting? It's like, oh, you can't get away from computers, pedophilia, oh, and Israel. You can't, even though you're doing everything in your power to squash it over here, it somehow miraculously manages to pop up over here. See, that's a lesson. And it's not karma, right? This has nothing to do with karma. What it has to do is it has to do with pressure being released, right? There's a pressure there that needs to be released. And so we have this very complex sort of organelle of all these various systems that at times work together, don't work together in ways that we don't see or understand. And so we have this pressure that comes up over here, no problem, relieve the pressure over here. And when that happens, it actually draws more attention to the actual thing itself than the thing that people have been wanting to, shake their fists at the clouds with. It's very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. And just remember, all this happened in the latter degrees of Leo, where people just think like, well, we've been able to get away with this. We've been able to get away with this for a long time. We own everybody. We own everything. We own the Congress. We own the Senate. We own the media. We own the airports. I can get out of here in a minute's notice, even though I've been arrested. Right? Those are those final degrees of Leo, where there's this hubris and then there's this pride. But I'm telling you, when this sun moves into Virgo, and we have this new moon in Virgo, there is a new sheriff in town. Some of it is going to be difficult for people because there'll be an externalization of it. And the externalization won't be really fun. Right? That's like watching, whether it's real or not, watching videos of ICE kind of go nuts in neighborhoods. So you have to sort through that, right? That's number one. But number two, the real energy around this is the people. It's like, no, we're not going to take this, right? And that new moon in Virgo is all about, it's about new standards. And yeah, there's going to be an inconjunct with Neptune, an inconjunct with Saturn. We get that. We know it, right? There's going to be plenty of people, plenty of forces on the back end that want to disrupt your focus, your concentration, your journey towards wholeness, your journey towards health, right? Which we're all on, by the way. And some people say, well, you're already happy, healthy, and whole in the eyes of God. Well, that's true. Right. But there are certain things that we need to do along the way to help facilitate that process. Right. He helps those who can help themselves. So this moon in Virgo is going to be a bit shocking, but in a good way. Because it feels a lot like people have just, well, we've had enough. We've had enough of this bullshit. Stop. It feels insulting, right? Like at a certain point. And what would happen? And God bless all you people who bleed Trump red, and I understand why you do. Right? He's positioned himself as our last best chance and hope. I totally get it. I understand it. I understand why you're into the idea, the concept, although I was born of a much more cynical age. But that said, even he needs to have his standards revised. There's something about the gilding of the White House that makes me feel really uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's like there's all this like gold gilding going around. Oh, he's got such great taste. That's not Virgo. That's not Virgo. Virgo is much more stripped down. Virgo's not as ostentatious. Virgo is efficient and ready to go. So set your clocks. Saturday. Saturday is the day. Yeah, we've got the balsamic moon in Leo, conjunct Mercury. Hey, if I were you, I would go out and I would go to a comedy club tonight. Go laugh your ass off, go have some fun. Right? Tonight's a good night. So with Thursday, you get some good comedy on a Thursday night. Unless you're in Kerrville. The only comedy on Thursday night in Kerrville is walking through HEB. Look, and there's a lot of compassion. Don't feel like you can't live without some compassion. You can. They're not mutually exclusive here. You can be compassionate. We got these nice trines going on with Mercury and the moon, especially that moon Neptune trine. That's a nice one. Venus coming into trine Neptune, very, very romantic. Yeah, so there's some good things happening. But Saturday, there's a new leaf. There's a new leaf coming to town on Saturday. And I just wonder how much patience people are going to be able to have as a result of this. Okay. See, you're getting your money's worth today. I may have been a little bit late, but you're definitely getting your money's worth. That's what we aim for here. All right, I wanted to squeeze this in. It's a little squeezy, but it's one page. Maybe I can make it bigger. Here we go. All right. So this is your True Hemp Science Star of the Day. Let's get the old Banneroo out. Here we go. All right, your True Hemp Science Star of the Day is Jim McMahon. All right. Jim McMahon, I think I've done at least 4 people on this day. And I've always really, really liked McMahon. He's one of these guys who I share something in common with. So you can see he was born in Jersey City. Now, I wasn't born in Jersey City. I was born in France, but I moved to New Jersey when I was about 8.5 months old. And he went from Jersey City to San Jose, California, and I went from Perth Amboy ultimately to San Jose, California. So my migrational path is very similar to Jim McMahon's. And Jim played, I think, high school football in San Jose until he was like a sophomore, and then his family moved to Utah. Now, Jim is a Roman Catholic, and he was an incredible athlete, and he became the starting quarterback for the Brigham Young Cougars. Now, Jim was a bit of a wild man. He liked his 3.2. and was always getting busted on campus for being a bit of a rowdy. Let's put it that way. But he's a Leo, like he's a leader of men. And when he was playing with the Chicago Bears, he was there. He'll never have to eat another meal in Chicago again. He was the starting quarterback for the 1985 Chicago Bears. And they were undefeated, right? No, they lost one game to Miami, of all teams. But that's where you had the Super Bowl shuffle, and McMahon is really at the center of it. And I remember they kept trying to play this one quarterback, and he was a good college quarterback, but he couldn't get it together as a pro. And I remember they put McMahon in, I think at halftime on this Monday night game, and this guy just started lighting things up. I mean, he was freaking electric. I'm like, Jesus, they should start this dude. And they eventually did. And, Jim was punk rock. That was the cool thing about Jim McMahon. So we've got that Sun Uranus conjunction right there. It's kind of wide, but still, nonetheless, Mercury Uranus conjunction. I remember he used to wear these headbands, and I think he wore this one headband for some kind of product that the NFL didn't endorse. And this was around the Super Bowl. And so he came back and he wore a different kind of headband. Like NFL said, no fun league. I mean, Jim was like that. Jim was always challenging convention, and he was a total prankster. His teammates absolutely loved him. They thought he was great. Right. He was like the type of guy you wanted as a quarterback on your team. When he was young, he had an injury to his eye with a fork, 4 or 5 years old. So he had an injury with his eye. We go first house, Chiron, right? This is the body right here. This is the head. And this Chiron's at a much later degree, but still sort of wounded, his wounded self in some ways. And it's anoretic. So he always had to wear these sunglasses. They weren't an act. They actually protected his one kind of fucked up eye. I think Jim suffered from depression. Saturn in the 12th house. I don't think he felt understood most of the time by any of his coaches. Maybe perhaps his father, because he's got a trine there with the sun. But Saturn in the 12th house, he's an outsider, right? And he has to literally have his outside time. The outside time means that he just is away from people, places, things, and he's able to sort of remind himself of, who he is at a deeper level. But there is definitely a moon in Aries, and that moon in Aries is hot. He's very close to being born on an eclipse, very close, but not quite, right? So this is sort of, well, it wouldn't be his pre-eclipse, but yeah, Saturn moon squares are depressive, right? And I would say that moving is one of those things that probably depressed the shit out of Jim McMahon. I don't know. I haven't read the Jim McMahon story to that degree, but I bet you he did not dig it, right? So he has Pluto, Venus, Mars, all in the 8th house. And he has this Venus-Mars conjunction. It's kind of wide, but again, it's the masculine that's leading the feminine and not vice versa. And he has the true node in Libra. So part of him is here to get along and figure out how to, build bridges with people versus burn them down. And Jim burned a lot of bridges along the way, right? He burned quite a few of them. I don't know a lot about his marriage life, but I would assume it would be important. And for any woman to hang out with this guy, she'd have to have Uranus. Like he'd have to have a Uranian kind of partner or mate, right? So he's got that 28th degree and he's unpredictable. He's got the same degree as Bill Murray, right? He's got that, even though Bill is on a different sign, he's Virgo, it's still the 28th degree. So you get this. You get this with McMahon. He's just got that unpredictability about him. But he's big, right? He goes big. Jupiter, 10th house. Super Bowl or bust, baby. Right there. And he's got that nice Mars sextile to Jupiter, right? That's almost magical. Pulling things out, rabbit out of the hat. Right? That kind of a deal. Jim took a beating when he played. He really took a beating, especially by my 49ers. Man, they roughed his ass up. And of course, right below him, you have, in some ways, his defensive counterpart with Brian Bosworth, the Boz. These guys are cartoons, man. They're larger than life. They don't really make, and these guys aren't Pluto and Leo. Like Jim's Pluto and Virgo. He's Jen Jones. Bosworth, I believe, is Gen X. Right? He's kind of right at the end there. So, but they don't make guys like this anymore. They didn't. I mean, Boswell took himself seriously, but he knew it was an act. He was another one of these guys that would wear apparel and, diss the commissioner or diss the league. Like these guys were punk rock. They were not about convention, and in McMahon's case, clearly, I mean, he was a winner. In Bosworth's case, on the collegiate level, he won. Pros, it's a bit of a different story. But there you go. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day, the great Jim McMahon, the quarterback of the 1985 Super Bowl Shuffle, Chicago Bears. In fact, he would actually win one more Super Bowl ring as a backup for Brett Favre in Green Bay for the Packers. So Jim McMahon, the owner of not one, but two Super Bowl rings. All right, there you go. That'll do it. Another one for the books. So we started a little bit late. We made up for the time. You get an hour of quality astrological breakdown and dissertation. Tomorrow we'll be back here with our good friend William Ramsey, and we'll be talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I suppose a lot more than just that as well. So please join us over here. Hit the like if you like this, if you like to talk astrology, culture, life. If you dig it, hit thumbs up, subscribe, get notified. It would be one of my life's dreams to rise up over 20,000 viewers. And I know that means that, I guess, somewhere along the way, I have to stop pissing people off. But look, it is what it is. It just happens that way. All right. Take care of yourselves. Love to you all. Treat each other well. All right. God bless. Robert Phoenix signing off.